All right, today we are going to be discussing the topic of surgery or no surgery, how it affects your case value. Welcome to yet another informative segment of Live with Mitch from the law firm of Proner and Proner. I'm your host, Mel McGuibb, and we sit down with the expert himself, Mr. Mitch Proner, a personal injury attorney with over 30 years of experience, here to answer your questions or anything of topics that you might find useful in the personal injury world. And just as a reminder, folks, please don't forget to contact us. You can call us at 1-800-321-1234, where all consultations are free and confidential, and that is 24/7. So how are you doing, Mitch?
Doing well. Excited to have another program. Hopefully we'll provide some interesting information.
Definitely.
For anybody that knows someone that has a personal injury action or just wants to know about these cases in general.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, so let's just kick it off. So, Mitch, how does having surgery or not having surgery impact the value of someone's case?
So many of my clients ask that question in particular.
Yeah.
And the first thing I say to all of them is, you shouldn't consider a surgery based upon the added value or lack of added value to your case. Surgery is a serious undertaking, and before anybody undergoes any procedure, they shouldn't be thinking about undergoing the procedure because of a case. They should have a serious conversation with their doctor about the risks and potential benefits of a surgery. And then they have to make their own personal decision as to whether or not they believe they need it. Not every surgery is successful.
Yeah.
And the results are not guaranteed. Typically, you want to get a surgery if the condition you're suffering from needs immediate attention. Now, there could be a variety of reasons that condition requires immediate attention. First of all, you could go into the hospital and it could be a matter of life and death. If we don't patch this person up, they're going to die. I had a friend of mine unfortunately went to an emergency room, and they did a CAT scan on him. And as soon as the CAT scan was completed, the wife remembers them running down the hallway. Doctors literally running down the hallway, telling the wife, he's unconscious. You got to give us consent to do the surgery or he's going to die. Now, obviously in that situation, the reasonable person's going to say, go ahead, do what you have to do, keep him alive. Then I had surgery after an accident. I had a motorcycle accident. I had surgery on my wrist. Needed to be done. Then 6 months later, my wrist was doing okay, but I didn't have a range of motion. So if I had my briefcase in my left hand, I couldn't turn a doorknob with my right hand because I didn't have any rotation. It was frozen in the shake position. So when I needed to get change from someone because I was carrying something, I had to try and curl my fingers like this, and I couldn't even curl them to open up my palm to get change. I'd have to put down my briefcase and get change with the same hand. Although when it was on my side, it was okay. I just couldn't turn it. So I went to the doctor, and he said we could fix that. He did something that I call a Derrick procedure, where he cut the bones to two bones of the wrist, the ulna and the radius, and now my hand turns. And it's fine. I can turn a doorknob with either hand. But I couldn't even turn on the shower in the morning with this hand because it was frozen.
Oh my gosh.
Now, that was a surgery that it wasn't immediate, but I couldn't see living like that. I wanted to get better, and it did. It made my life better. Now, some people get surgery because they can't live with the pain. They're awake, they can't sleep, and they say, I can't take this anymore. Other people could say, you know what? It's not that bad. I could live with it.
Right.
Now, that's a decision you have to make based on how you feel, what your doctor tells you. But typically, a case increases in value when you get a surgery.
Okay.
Now, a lot of times people say, well, the doctor says, I need the surgery, but I don't want to get it. So is my case worth more because the doctor says I need the surgery?
Mm.
And I say, you didn't get the surgery.
Right.
And they say, yeah, but the doctor says I needed it. It doesn't have the same value as getting the surgery because in any personal injury lawsuit, the defendants have the right, and the defendants are the person you're suing. So the person that's claiming they're entitled to money is the plaintiff. They're making the complaint. They're the plaintiff. The person that you're trying to get money from is the defendant. They're the one defending the lawsuit. And the defendant has the right to hire their own doctor to do their own examination to see if the plaintiff's injuries and complaints are real or are being exaggerated for a lawsuit for financial gain. Now, in every lawsuit, the defendants are going to try and claim, one, the accident wasn't the defendant's fault. Two, if it was the defendant's fault, it was also the plaintiff's fault. Three, the injuries that they're complaining of are not all from the accident. They're from pre-existing conditions.
Right.
Four, those injuries that come from the accident are being exaggerated. And lastly, those injuries have healed and the recovery is better than the plaintiff is stating. So, that same doctor that's going to examine the plaintiff is selected by the insurance carrier.
Okay.
They call it an independent medical examination, an IME, but the doctor's not independent. He's hired by the insurance carrier. And they make a pretty good business doing these examinations. And anybody who has a pretty good business tries to keep their customers happy. And naturally, the more often they say they're not related, better recovery, exaggerating the injuries, the more they're going to keep their customers, the insurance carriers, happy. So these doctors, when your doctor says you needed a surgery but didn't get it, their doctor would say he didn't need the surgery.
Mm.
So now if the case is presented, you have one doctor saying he needs a surgery, the other doctor saying he doesn't need the surgery, and the jury hearing, well, he didn't get the surgery. So they're more likely to believe if he really needed the surgery, he would have gotten it, which means his injuries are not that bad.
Right.
Now, if you get the surgery They could still say, oh, the injuries weren't that bad. But the jury is likely to think, if it wasn't that bad, he wouldn't have needed a surgery. He wouldn't have gotten a surgery. And if they say he didn't need the surgery, I'll say he wouldn't have gotten the surgery if he didn't need it. Nobody would do that.
Right.
Get themselves opened up just for a case. And he made a better recovery. Then he's saying, well, if he had a surgery, it's probably not going to be the same.
Hmm.
So typically, the case is worth more if somebody has a surgery than if they have doctors that say they need a surgery, but they didn't get it.
Okay.
Now, at the same rate, a doctor who's a surgeon, just because they say you need a surgery, that doesn't mean you necessarily have to get that surgery. That's up to you. And you got to think about your health. For example, a knee replacement surgery. The average knee replacement surgery only works, meaning there's a decrease in pain and an increase in range of motion, 2/3 of the time. There's a 1/3 failure rate for knee replacement surgeries.
Right.
So that's a pretty big risk you're taking.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do that unless you think, I can't live with this knee as it is. I don't care if it doesn't get better, but I got to try something. And most procedures do have a success and failure rate. And you can ask your doctor what the success rate is. The better question is, can you live with it the way it is? Or is this something you don't want to live like this the rest of your life? Like me with my hand that I couldn't turn, I said, I got to do something to make this better. For me, it worked. It was worth it. Of course, rehab and everything else is not fun. You got to go through it. You got to work.
Right.
But, there's other surgeries don't work. My hand, I got cut on my hand. Look, that's as straight as my pinky gets. It doesn't get any straighter. They
Oh, wow.
operated on it. Scar tissue formed. Now, you're never going to know that. And I'm not a professional guitar player. So it doesn't affect me. And I can still, drive a car and carry my briefcase and write. But that's the straightest my pinky will get.
Yeah.
And the only time it gets funny, sometimes if it's cold and I'm wearing tight pants, I go to jam my hand in my front pocket and my finger will bend. But other than that, I'm living a full life.
Yes, you
Surgery didn't
are.
work. I didn't get the surgery for a case. I got surgery because I cut a tendon. But the doctor did say to me, oh, that's important. That pinky's important for your grip. We got to operate on that right away. I said, okay, I listened to him. In the end, it's not like the pinky's so great, but okay, I tried it. Anyway, that's it. For surgeries, your case becomes worth more. How much more depends on the surgery. So I'll throw out some numbers.
Okay.
A torn meniscus without surgery might be worth 130. I'm sorry, might be worth 35,000. With surgery, might be worth 130, 150, depending on your occupation, loss of earnings. Maybe it's worth 250. It depends on who it is and what happened. Okay, that's settlement values, not verdict values.
Right.
Meniscus, a knee injury. Shoulders, torn rotator cuff, no surgery, might be worth 60. With surgery, might be worth 250 to 300,000, depending on the venue, the occupation, etc. A back, injections without surgery, 30 grand, 25,000, maybe 60. With surgery, could be $1 million case. The numbers are determined by the type of surgery, the invasiveness of the surgery,
Right.
open surgery adds more value than an arthroscopic surgery. The more invasive the procedure, the more it's typically worth. But there's so many other factors involved. Loss of earnings, residual disability, which legally we call the sequelae, medical bills, the age of the individual, the impact on lifestyle, activities, the venue, where the plaintiff is presenting themselves. All these different things can have a tremendous effect on value. In a personal injury action, you're entitled to money for past medical bills and future medical bills, past pain and suffering and future pain and suffering, including the loss of quality of life, past loss of earnings and future loss of earnings. So whether or not you need surgery and whether you have the surgery and what type of surgery is can have an effect on all those numbers.
Got it.
So that's the answer.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. So in essence, if, for example, if you're a piano player and your hand's injured, that's not only loss of quality of life, but quality loss of earnings too. And so the rates would go higher.
There's also a specific jury charge. A jury charge. So what a jury charge is this? Every case that goes to trial, every single case that goes to trial before a jury, evidence is presented, and then after evidence is presented, the judge has what's called a charging conference, where without the jury present, the two lawyers argue with the judge over, based upon the evidence that came in the trial, what the law of the case is.
Okay.
And there are standard jury charges, and then there's particular jury charges for specific cases. And every jurisdiction, meaning every different state, every different county, every different judge has some charges that they standardly charge and some that they don't charge, some they modify. But for New York State, there are pattern jury instructions that are typically commonly used throughout the state. Same thing in Connecticut, same thing in most states. Once you go before the judge, you talk about the facts of this particular case. And that's on every case. You might say, oh, this is an auto accident with a broken hand on a left turn case. These have been tried a million times. You still have this conference where you argue about what the charge is for this specific case.
Okay.
And then after the conference, the judge tells the attorneys what the charge is going to be. Then the attorneys do their closing arguments. Then the judge charges the jury. What that is while the jury's sitting, the judge tells the jury the law of the case. And he reads a lot of different laws that apply to the case. And there is a specific charge that you could ask for, not just for loss of earnings, but if you lose a skill. So, for example, if you're a piano player and you can no longer play the piano, you can ask for compensation for the loss of that skill, even if that skill is not something you use for your earnings, just for enjoyment. That's something you could get compensation for as well.
Oh.
Surgery might affect that ability, and you might be getting compensation for that based upon the law.
Wow. I had no idea about that portion. That's really great information, Mitch. Well, there you have it, folks. You heard it from the expert himself, Mr. Mitch Proner. And you know what? That'll do it for now. And thank you for taking your time to tune in. And whether it's on our podcast or video broadcast, we really do appreciate you taking the time. And always remember, you can call us 24/7 at 1-800-321-1234, where all consultations are free and confidential. Also, if you haven't done it yet, please follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. Like, share, and please subscribe so you get the latest updates. Now, before we go, Mitch, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, most importantly, I hope you don't need a surgery, and I hope you enjoy good health. And if you have any further questions, we're always here.
Excellent. Yes. Thank you so much, Mitch. Thank you again, and for yet another informative session. And thank you all for checking us out and tuning in. I know I learned a lot, and I hope you did too. Until next time, guys, we'll see you. Thanks, Mitch.
Thanks again, Mel. Be well.
You too.